This is the Level Up Lifestyle Podcast, where we dive deep into conversations that matter for today's leaders and growth seekers. In today's episode, Rebekah sits down with sales professionals Robin Monsky and David Villasenor. We get to hear two different perspectives from two top performers, from their motivating philosophies.
Selling and life are together. I mean, we're all selling something at the end of the day.
To where they disagree.
Well, see, I'm going to disagree a little bit with David there.
I love it. Yeah,
I do.
To the lessons that transcend any differences in their work styles.
Anybody can be successful as long as they have the discipline to work hard.
All of this coming up next on the Level Up Lifestyle.
Welcome to the Level Up Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Rebekah Samuels, and today we'll have a combined conversation with two unique leaders who bring something to the table. So welcome, Robin Monsky, one of the all-time greats, sitting next to David Villasenor, who also holds some lifetime records, combined $10 million in personal net annualized premium. So we're looking forward to hearing your insights today and the life lessons you'll share with others. Let's dive in.
Okay.
All righty. So when you hear the phrase, Robin, leading from the inside out, what does that mean to you?
I always hear people talk about leading from the front, but leading from inside out to me, or leading from the front, just means be aware that everything you do is something that impacts other people that are watching you. And if you're doing it right, other people are going to watch you and they're going to do it right. So to me, that's a leader. You don't think about what you're doing. As long as you know what you're doing is right, other people are going to learn and follow along.
Absolutely. And you, David?
Inside out for me would be the internal dialogue that I have with myself daily. That internal compass that I think we all have. I just don't think most of us are attuned to listening to it. But it's always talking to us. We just have to be listening. And it's always telling us what to do, where to go, what to say in all areas of our life. It's just having the self-awareness to get there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And as a young salesperson, what were some of the phrases you were telling yourself as you were hearing that inner dialogue? Are there any phrases that you use to encourage yourself when you're out in the field? Or
I said things, phrases all the time. Winners never quit, quitters never win. Two kinds of people in this world, ones that find a way, ones that find an excuse. Two choices in life, either accept conditions as they are or accept responsibility for changing them. I'm a winner, I'm a champion. I feel healthy, I feel happy, I feel terrific. I mean, anything to make me feel a little bit better in any given situation.
Absolutely.
At all times.
I'm sure you guys would agree what we think, right? So we become, whether it's out in the field with people or in businesses, ranch to ranch, right? The thoughts we have as sales professionals pretty much dictate our day, right? Whether it's going well or we can have some room for improvement. What are some internal habits, David, or routines that have been the biggest game changers for you and your success?
Internal habits. I mean, I think everything is, we go back to the same question. I mean, it's just internally being open to that dialogue that you're always constantly having with yourself. Embracing the grind, embracing the suck, doing things that you don't want to do, knowing that behind that area of discomfort lies your greatest victory. And it's a constant battle, constant challenge. Every day in every way, it's like I'm forcing myself to, maybe be in the field, go to the gym, do an extra rep, run an extra mile, knock on an extra door, work an extra hour. So constantly you're battling your mind in every way and every day. So it's a constant struggle. And it's not really a struggle, it's a habit. So I'm able to get past it most of the time because it's been such a habit. But yeah, it's probably the one of the most important components to having longevity in this career and then being able to do it at a high level for an extended amount of time.
What's your morning routine like?
It depends on what's going on.
On the best days.
whether it's on a vacation, whether it's working.
I think we're getting ready for
train more.
Yeah, thinking through your successful sales weeks and the weeks when you're doing the things you need to do. What's your morning routine look like?
It's changed over the last 28 years. I mean, when I was first into it, I was very, very scattered a little bit, but organized. And then obviously became more organized as I learned to reprogram my minds, my habits, my thoughts. My job, my skill set has always been to get the job over as quickly as possible. And I don't use it as a job. I use it more as trying to get done with my goal as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. I think most of us in society, we're trained to feel like we have to work a 5-day work week because that's what society says. I've always looked at it as like, why can't I do a 5-day work week and a 2-day work week? And I figured out that you actually can as long as you change your mindset. Can you come back and see me on Friday? Can you come back and see me on Thursday? Well, I'm here today and I'll be here on Tuesday. Which day works best? So again, you're always just trying to change that, I guess, internal dialogue, that schedule. But my morning routine on a regular basis is pretty much pray, meditate, possibly journal, depending on what's going on that day before. And that's proven to be the most fruitful as far as being very, very successful with what I do here, both business-wise, personally, and spiritually.
Wow, that's great. And what about you, Robin? What are some of the habits or routines, the things that keep you grounded, that have helped you have such quick success? I mean, since 2020, you have been nowhere but up, the top 5 year after year after year. What does your morning look like? What are the routines you have that serve you?
Very different from David.
Don't we love that? See? Doesn't matter.
We're pretty opposite extremes. David's in what, year 28 with you, with the company. Yep. I'm wrapping up my 5th year.
Yeah.
Now, I have not sold what he's sold, but I've sold about half.
There you go.
I don't have those kind of routines. I literally I'm not a morning person. I'm much more a night person, probably dating back to working in sports where I'm working at games. And when the games end at 10:30 or 11, you still need some time to wind down and things like that. So I don't go to bed early, even if I have to get up early. So I literally am someone who gets up at the very last minute. I've got my routine down to, I can get up and dressed and makeup on and out the door in 35 minutes. And I am getting every last minute of sleep.
I love that. Okay.
And then I head to wherever I'm going to work that day. Everything is set for me the night before. I've got my work bag packed, all the stuff I need. I know exactly where I'm going and who I'm talking to. I plan very far in advance. I think at one of the points when I wrote an Eagle, which we do if you sell a certain amount and you share it with everybody in the company, I talked about the fact that I literally work in a lot of states. I have a license in 27 states. Now, a lot of our people don't. They'll just kind of work their home territory. I go everywhere because I know people in a lot of places because I'm old and I've come across a lot of people in my lifetime.
Wow.
So you have to be organized because if I'm going to go work in another state, I need to have those materials. I need to make sure I'm licensed in that. I need to make sure I have the right rates. So all those kinds of things I'm ready for. So I pop up in the morning and I'm ready to tackle the day and I go out and do it. And then when I'm done working, I do like to work out, not as much as you, obviously, and I like to eat chocolate. So, it doesn't have the same
Sounds
impact.
like a good nighttime routine to me.
Right. So I do that, try and make room for friends. I watch a lot of sports. That's how I relax.
That's great.
So that's kind of my routine.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I love that you guys are so different, but just equally successful in your own right. You don't have to be a certain personality type or a morning person or a nighttime person. You can make it work for you. So thinking about that, y'all, I mean, sales is obviously deeply personal. I mean, we can have some high highs, some really low lows. Robin, how do you regulate your mindset, when you hit a tough patch? I mean,
listen, I can't tell you that I'm an expert at regulating that because I will tell you that Rick Dunn, who runs the agency I work for, he has taken numerous calls throughout those 5 years of Robin being crushed and saying, Rick, the jig is up. I can't sell anymore. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't do it. And, he'll let me complain and moan, but he also knows that I need to release. And then the next day, I'm right back out there. So,
and that's the important part.
That's the important thing. Get up, get out the door, and go work. So there's a TV show that I loved called Ted Lasso. It was on Apple TV. The The gist of it is that the main character, Ted Lasso, is a coach, was an American football coach, goes over to England and is coaching a soccer team, and he doesn't really know anything about it. But he's got one particular player, young player, who's very, very good, but he's very young, and emotionally he's not as strong as he should be, and he messes up on something. And Ted Lasso calls him over and says, "You need to be a goldfish." And the kid looks at him like he's crazy. Like, what does that mean? And reportedly, a goldfish has the shortest memory of any animal on the earth. So what happens to it a minute ago, they've now forgotten. And what Finding Dory, the movie Finding Dory, there's kind of a play on that. She can't remember anything, right? And so the idea is to do that sort of, be a goldfish. Okay. Yeah, I had a crummy day, a crummy week, whatever. Next week's another week. But in this business, and I'm sure David can tell you this too, I can go out and I can sell 20,000 in a day, and the next day not sell anything. There's no rhyme nor reason. I know what I'm doing. So while it's tough to go through those down times, you know that you just got to keep doing it because it's gonna work. So even if you go through a rough patch, it's just, okay, complain for a little bit, feel sorry for yourself. Darn it, I'm going to miss that incentive or whatever it is. But there's next week.
That's right. David, anything to add? How do you stay regulated when you have the disappointments in the field? Or
So getting to staying regulated, I mean, I think, obviously there's a commitment to excellence, a standard, a benchmark that I set for myself no matter what.
Okay.
I understand every bad day, if somebody wants to call it a bad day, again, this is a mindset that, if you don't write anything for a day, that means you had a bad day. And I just look at it as just another way that I'm going to get closer to having a better day. So again, it's a mental mindset. Again, games that I play with myself constantly, knowing that, every day, every no gets me closer to a yes. And I've had the big days where one call turns into a $10,000 day or a $20,000 day. So I'd never look at a day as being a bad day. I look at it as a teaching day, a learning day, a day of growth, a day of figuring out, okay, what do I need to do different tomorrow? What did I do different? Or what did I do wrong this day? Was it my hair? Was it my face? Was it something I wore?
I mean, it's hard not to blame yourself or think you broke the, the wheel.
Right. So, that's instantly what you go to. What's wrong with me? What did I say? What did I do different? Nothing. It just wasn't one of those days that you're going to have high success, and that's okay. There's not a lot of those days anymore because there's just so many things working for me with return of premium checks, with claims, with numerous clients, and second and third generation parts of my business now where I'm servicing the kids that were babies when I was there 25 years ago. Yeah. So there's not a lot of down days or down weeks or down months.
Yeah, but you've done the work consistently over time is what you're saying that has put you in that position.
Right.
So we have to be willing to do the work as Robin has shared with us. So how do you stay accountable, Robin, when no one's watching, right? This is the kind of job where really it's you and the client a lot of the time, right? Or you and the business. How do you stay accountable to your own standards and your own goals when nobody's watching?
I can't tell you. I just know that it's I've always been an independent kind of person. Willing to put the work in and knowing that David just referred to the word standards. And I think you and I had a different conversation about this, where to me, it's not motivation, it's about standards. I hold myself to a standard. And if I know I have not lived up to that and haven't given it my full effort, then shame on me. Then I feel bad about me. So it's just, I just don't let that happen to me. I know what it takes to be good. And it's just, that's what drives me, is to hit that standard. I know I have to work hard. I work a little more often than David, but I don't have some of the things he has going for him. The kids of people he's covered before, he's got a, return of premiums after 5 years. I don't have anyone I can bring a return of premium check back to. So we work a little bit differently. At some point, maybe I can capitalize on some of the things he's been doing and learn from him.
Yeah.
A look down, potentially the future. That's great. So we've talked a lot about mindset, some habits and routines. Kind of the last question in this theme I would ask is, what does personal discipline look like to you?
I I mean, it's everything. I mean, personal discipline is the schedule. I mean, it's how you, what time you go to bed, what time you wake up, what your morning routine looks like, what does your day look like, how many hours are you going to work? The personal discipline for me is the fundamental essence of everything, outside of schedule, but schedule's based upon your discipline. To me, that has been my biggest key component. It's one of my strengths that has kind of carried me this far. I don't really need an accountability partner. I need me to be better than I was the day before. And it's not that I struggle with that. I've never really struggled with it. It's just the idea, I've got to do better. And I'll find a way. I will find a way. So
I think you mentioned earlier a couple, like you'll play a game or something with yourself. I'm thinking about the people on the other side of this podcast that are listening. What are some of the mind games, the games that you play to keep yourself motivated and keep yourself going in the field?
I'm trying to think if there is a game. I mean, there's so many little things that I've done over the years. I don't know if there's actually a game, but just the idea of a challenge to say, I've given 10, to be completely honest with you, if I've given 10 presentations in a day and I'm just not feeling it, I may just go ahead and call it because it's just not my day. And I'll wake up tomorrow and it will be my day. I've had days like that. I don't have those days anymore, but early on, just like I think with anybody starting in a new business, you're going to have your own mental challenges, especially if you want to be at a certain level of success with anything that you're going to do, whether it's in this arena of direct marketing or managing or recruiting or building, whatever it is, and whether you're with a different company, you're always going to be dealing with the same issues. And that's why I think it's interesting why people leave our company to think that the grass will be greener on the other side, and the same problems that you deal with here, you'll deal with there. Those problems don't go away. It's a personal, decision that you make about how you're going to be, how you're going to live your life, how you're going to deal with challenges, how you're going to see yourself when bad things happen. Are you going to quit, tuck your tail and run? Or are you going to, fight and win? I choose to fight and win.
Sometimes I think people assume that a job somewhere else is going to be better, but I've always been a firm believer that the skeletons in the closet that are easier to deal with than the skeletons in a closet you don't know. You go take another job and you have no idea. It may look great from the outside, but if you know where you're working provides the things you need to be successful, which Family Heritage, Globe Life do for us, there certainly are frustrations. No one is ever going to agree with absolutely every decision that upper management and leadership make. It's not going to happen unless you're the guy at top. And then, of course, every decision you make is right because you're the person, no one can override you. But for the rest of us, there's always going to be things that aren't exactly what you want. But if it's something that you can work within that construct, then you're better off staying there and trying to make the most of where you are.
I think the saying is, the grass is greener where you water it.
Yep.
Right? We're talking a lot about self-development. We're talking about self-discipline. Robin, in this career in your life, what does it look like for you to ask for feedback to improve?
I'm not sure I do a lot of that, quite frankly.
So what does it look like for you to identify something you want to improve?
I get feedback from customers telling me that I'm doing a good job. I get feedback when I make a presentation in front of a group and someone will come up and tell me, that's the best presentation we've ever had. You've made it very understandable. You've made it very clear. That's kind of the feedback I get. I don't necessarily ask someone, how am I doing? It's more, I can tell by virtue of how people are responding to me, by virtue of whether I'm selling or not, whether I'm doing a good job or not.
Absolutely. And that's great to think about the feedback you get from your clients is feedback to your own personal growth and development. David, what about you? Like, what does that look like for you to assess your own growth? How do you ask for feedback? How do you kind of regulate where you're putting your emphasis on how you're growing and improving?
I mean, I think it comes down to, your personal accountability. I mean, what do you look like at the end of the year? Are you in the top 10, top 15? Usually if you're in the top 20, you're doing your job well. And there's obviously always needs for improvement, but, remind me again of the question because I lost it again.
No, it's okay. We've been talking about a lot of different topics, but I think as we've talked about personal accountability, personal discipline, personal growth, I think sometimes a part of that formula is asking for feedback, right? How do you figure out like where to assess your growth? Where are you getting feedback from? Is that from your personal life, your spiritual life? Is that somebody in the business?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to piggyback on Robin a little bit with her answer. I mean, I really don't ask for a lot of accountability. I think my accountability comes from myself. It comes from the people that I serve. And, you know, usually the accountability that I get is, you know, wow, great job. Great. You know, you're the fact that you were able to present it, I understood it. You asked a lot of questions. And it was very easy to make a decision. You know, I look at those moments as teaching moments for me to say, I guess I'm doing my job well.
Yeah.
Because I don't really have an accountability partner. My accountability partner would be myself. You know, if I do need some help, I'll reach in here, or I'll reach upstairs. And usually that voice is there ready to help me and tell me what I need to do.
And that may be a characteristic of the people that are top 10 in our company. I think we're all pretty self-motivated, which doesn't mean we don't question ourselves from time to time. Because we do, and maybe David, maybe you're immune, but as I said, I do have these moments where I think, I can't do it anymore. I don't know what's wrong. But the difference between us and perhaps someone that doesn't sell as much as us is that they might let that defeat them and take the air out of them. And they may not want to go back out, and they may sort of think, oh, I just need to take some time off because I just got to get my mind back together. And I think when you sell on the level that David and I do and the others that are in the top 10, we might, you know, have those moments, an hour, 2 hours, but then the next day, we know that what we have to do is go right back out and do it. I said it in one of our other interviews. Listen, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to think, oh my God, I can't do this, but that shouldn't stop you from going out and doing it. Go out and try it even though you're scared. You know, go out and try it even though you're feeling a little bit, oh gosh, I'm not doing very well lately. Well, the only thing that's going to get you out of that slump is to go back out and try it again. You know, how does a baseball player get out of a slump? He doesn't sit on the bench for a week. You keep going out there and you keep taking your cuts.
Yep.
I like that. It sounds like a lot of the sports figures have influenced some of your personal leadership. I guess, tell me, David, has there been anybody that's influenced your personal leadership? How you lead yourself? Do you model that after someone or a figure or in the business, out in sports?
I mean, you know, I don't know necessarily if it involves anybody outside of family heritage. I mean, like I feel like
family heritage has influenced.
Why I think everybody that was a pioneer that before I even started, the people that were, you know, like the Craig Sennas, the Paul Leahys, the Joe Vaverkas, the Tom Hofers, the Rudy Ciosins, the Barrys, the Ken Matsons, these guys that were going out and doing it. And I saw them, and I would always sit there at meetings and just ask them, how are you doing it? And I listened to everything that they said, and I was like a little baby sponge or a big sponge, depending on how you want to look at it. And I just took everything in and I said, all right, I'm going to do the exact same thing. And I did. And I took all that information and just basically internalized, personalized, and made it mine. And you know, here I am, you know, 20, 25, 26 years later, looking forward to the next 20 years. Not looking to say, oh man, I don't know if I can do this for another 20 years. Because the job doesn't become harder, it becomes easier as long as you're doing it the right way. And I say the right way by continuing to work, you know, not taking that time off or letting life get in your way of events. And it's very easy to get distracted, right? Especially in this time of you know, social media and everything else. I mean, there's distractions galore. So the idea of staying focused is the power of habit. That power has kind of led me to where I have so much freedom and flexibility with everything that I do. And it's because of that that has allowed me to be so to speak, number one agent with Family Heritage. I mean, I'd never looked at that as a goal. It was just something that was created because of the power of habit. So
I like that. You didn't necessarily have that goal in mind, but you did the work that just ended up being one of the results. So I know one of your nicknames is King of Consistency. I don't know if you accept the nickname or not, but what does consistency mean to you in the context of long-term sales performance? I mean, we have, I think, on record something like 950 weeks back-to-back of over 5,000 annual premium. What does that even mean? I mean, man.
At the time, I had no idea what it meant, really. I just knew that if I continue to go out and write, X amount of premium every week, and the thing that's interesting about doing that for an extended amount of time is we're in a momentum building business. So continuing to do highly productive, habits over a consistent period, time, good things continue to build and grow and develop. And next thing you know, you're running on autopilot because the power of habit has taken over. And it's like, am I really even working, or am I just basically running my, system that's already built into my, daily activities? And that's what I was. I mean, I was essentially a shell or a ghost of kind of just the power of habit, because I knew exactly what I was going to do, how I was going to do it. And it was the same thing. I mean, it was like the most boring story you could ever tell. I mean, the tortoise and the hare. I mean, the hare was the big flashy bunny, and the tortoise was the big old boring guy that just sat around and did the same thing over and over again, but he won the race. And, if you want to put it in a fable, I guess I'd be the boring old tortoise.
There you go. So, and it's definitely paid off. So, And I guess, Robin, to you, what does consistency mean to you at this point in your career, 5 years in?
Well, consistency, again, is just getting out there and doing the job day after day after day. Do what it takes to get it done. And it's as simple as that. And I think for me, again, little different approaches just because of the longevity in the career.
Sure.
So some of the things that help him approach his job differently now, I'm just building. So
Got it.
My networking to me is really important. And I focus a lot on that. And whether it's going to conferences and different verticals that we service, and networking with people and staying in touch with those people and sending them, greetings on holidays.
That's
and
great.
checking in
That's
and
so
birthdays
smart.
and those sorts of things. The people that can help me when I don't have anything set up, where I can call someone and say, "Hey, I haven't been to your office in a while. Can I come by?" So it's keeping those lines of communications, showing people that you're not just there to write an application,
right?
That you're kind of friends. You have to put effort into that sort of thing, and making sure people know that you're just not showing up to collect a check, and then you don't want to have anything to do with them again for another, 25 years.
Right. So practically, what does that look like for you? Are you reaching out once a year, twice a year, every 90 days? Like, what's your rhythm?
Well, not to every customer, I have to say that.
Sure.
But to some of the key people that get me into, to businesses and that sort of thing. Oh, a couple times a year. And then, for instance, when I go to conventions. So here's something, a simple little difference between me and some other people I know who do kind of go to conventions trying to network into businesses.
Sure.
There are some people that think technology is awesome, right? So if I have a booth and people are coming by to get information, there are people that just say, "Oh, just scan this and put your info in," or I know people that'll put out on the tables at the convention, "Scan this and you'll be in our we're going to do a drawing for $100 or something like that." I don't want to use the scan. I want them to come out to the table to talk to me, so that there's name with face, because
Personal
that's
connection,
different.
Yeah,
there's that's to me totally different. So then when I show up at the business or call them, there's actually been a connection, and so I actually choose to do giveaways when I go to these conventions. Different besides the cash giveaway, I have something that if you come to talk to me at the table, I'm giving you a gift, which have ranged from packets of Post-it notes. One vertical that I'm very big in, I just did socks at a convention for 200 people that had their logo on it. You had to come see me, though. If you didn't come see me, you didn't get a pair of socks. So some of those were people I already knew. Some of them were not people I knew. So that's broadening my network. But I gave them an excuse to come see me and put name with face. And again, there are people that would argue, well, yeah, but you could just put a sheet of paper on the tables where they're meeting and they could scan it and put their name in. Not the same kind of connection. Not the same kind of consistency. And I think it just makes you
more memorable. They know your face. They know your name. They had a reason to remember you.
Yeah.
I guess those are pretty cool socks if they're coming to talk to you.
Yeah.
That's right. So thinking back to when you guys started, when you were a new agent. What is one internal skill, one inner leadership skill that you would want to impress upon them to learn?
If to me, it was always to be teachable.
Okay.
To me, that was critical and, a basic fundamental. If you're not coachable from, people that have already proven themselves and you think that you're going to reinvent or redirect the system in a way that you feel like is going to reinvent the wheel, so to speak.
Sure.
I've been here a long time, so I've seen a lot of people come and go. And it's usually those people that try to do everything a little bit different. And I think just being able to really just be a student of this business, always be learning. I call it ABL, but always be learning. Just, we in selling, we always be closing, ABC. But,
sure.
I use ABL all the time, always be learning. I don't ever think that I know everything. Some people would say, well, you're an expert in your field. No, I'm not. Hours and years would say probably differently, but I feel like every day is different. And that's one of the things that I actually love about this job is you just don't know who you're going to run into. And, that's kind of one of the best things about what we do is we deal with real people with real problems and we give them a real product with real promises. And that's to me, that's the most rewarding part of this. I mean, just knowing that you are of service to people in a really bad time in their lives and they trust you enough to guide them through that. And I think to me, that was my calling. I think God put that calling on my life years ago, maybe before I started with Family Heritage. He said, you're going to come to this company and you're going to make an impact. And I'm like, okay, is the way I feel anyway. I don't know what other way I could have made a bigger impact. But yeah, hopefully it answers where you're going with that.
It sounds like the impact someone can have is probably directly tied to how coachable they are, willing to listen and willing to learn, like you shared.
Listen, you just said the key word for me is people need to listen.
Okay.
You need to listen to the people you're talking to. You need to be interested in where they're coming from and what they've gone through and what their circumstances are. Because if you're interested in them, they're interested in you. That's, I think, in large part, what makes someone interesting is being interested in the person you're talking to. So I think that's the biggest thing. Don't get so enamored of what you have to say and how you plan on saying it. Because if you listen to them and hear where they're coming from and see where they're coming from, I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think people feel cared for when someone is asking them a question and then actually takes the time to listen to the answer.
Yeah.
For you, Robin, are there certain questions that you normally ask when you're meeting somebody new or you're at a new business? Do you have ones you carry in your pocket that you start with? Or
no?
What does that look like for you to strike up a new?
Well, I also tend to do more group presentations than one-on-one. That's my preferred, is to set it up so I come in and I talk to a group of people. It might be 6, it might be 60, it might be 100. It's whatever. So I have a presentation that I do, and it pretty well starts with the same sort of a thing on, people. I'm sure everyone here knows someone who's had cancer. Raise your hand if you know someone who's had cancer. And I'll bet every one of you has seen that has a financial impact on the people going through it, even though they have insurance. And so that's kind of sometimes my starting off point. But in terms of David talking about always be learning and looking for other things. So getting back to my background in sports media and news and media, I read a lot. And I actually have a Google search on cancer and expenses. And so I will bring articles in that have just come. There was just an article a month ago, not even a month ago, a couple of weeks ago, about the raising incidence of cancer in young people. About a month before that, I found an article in Washington Post about how the cancer rates are going sky high in the Corn Belt area, which is where I live, which is Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Michigan. So those kinds of things I will take with me, and I'll say, hey, it's not just me saying this. Here's the Washington Post. Here's the Wall Street Journal. Time magazine earlier this year had a cover story on the fact that cancer incidences are raising so much in people under 50. So I look for things like that to share with people because it just goes to explain to someone why what I'm saying is important and that this is not just me trying to sell them something they don't need.
Always be learning, always be listening, and continue to share that with others. Let's talk a little bit about y'all's personal identity when it comes to selling. How do you, David, not tie your personal identity or how you value yourself to your performance metrics? Like how good your day goes, how much you sell. How do you not tie how you feel about yourself or your day to the result?
Again, I guess it's just a mental decision that you're going to make about, who you are as a person. I've never really tied my identity to family heritage. It just kind of was created through, years of being consistent in this business and still trying to be consistent in this business. So I don't know if there's something that actually is there that you're asking for.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you want to expand on that.
And maybe it's the younger people in our industry or whatever industry, that they're listening in from. I think it can be easy when you're young in the business to have a bad day or a bad presentation or an enrollment that goes sour and then tie how you feel about yourself, your industry, your career to the result. So I'm curious what you both do or did maybe when you were younger, less confident in the career. Let yourself go there.
Yeah, so there were a few times like that. I mean, I'm so far removed from those times, but
well, good for you.
Yeah, but no, there were definitely times where I was challenged, and I would always go and follow somebody just to mentally get myself back on track. And I wouldn't be following somebody that was not writing. I'd go follow someone that's writing at a high level. So
for those listening, what does following mean?
It means to go find a producer that's producing at a high level, a Robin Monsky, a Jeremiah Tatum, somebody that's doing the job at a high level. I want to go see what they're doing, and all of a sudden my mental focus shifts, and I'm right back to where I need to be. So those events were critical. I remember having asked Barry a couple times, like, "Hey man, you mind if I follow you for half a day?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." You struggling a little bit? And I said, no, I just want to follow you and see what you're doing. I'd never let that be my reason. But
and then you find out he's not doing anything special.
He's doing the same thing I'm doing. His attitude was different at that moment. So there's things that you have to do. You don't have to do anything, but if you want to be successful, you're going to have to figure out how to change that mental shift. And I have always done it by finding and hanging out with the positive people. I'm always hanging out with the winners. I don't really want to know what the bottom 5 or the bottom 80% are doing. And
you're protecting,
right. I'm protecting my mental space with positive people, positive affirmations, and just general knowledge that I need to be around in order for me to keep my mental clarity and be successful with anything that I'm doing.
Right. No, that's great advice. We're the average of what's the saying, the 5 people we spend the most time with. Yeah. So that can definitely impact our reality. What about you, Robin?
Well, see, I'm going to disagree a little bit with David there.
I love this. Yeah.
I do. I think to some extent my identity is tied into what I've done and the successes I have. It doesn't mean it's the whole person I am. But for example, when this was a late career switch for me. I had a very long career working in sports and public relations, doing very high profile things until about 5 or 6 years ago. And the world changed, the world of media changed, and I needed to reinvent myself. It was very hard for me to come into this business. It took me almost 2 full years to really commit to doing it. I got my license, and then I really want to go back to sports because that was my identity. That's what I had done for 40 years, and I was known for that. Now, that doesn't mean it's my only identity, because I'm also the Robin Monsky that likes jazz, that likes to go to theater, that took some kids in and raised them that weren't her own, that needed a place to come live and created a family. I also have that. So you still have an identity outside of work. But no, I very much do get a feedback loop from what I do and the successes. And when it was in sports, that feedback might have been if I had a client that wanted a story done about them, did I get it on CBS Morning News? Did I place them in Sports Illustrated? Did I get them on ESPN? those kinds of things affirmed for me that I was accomplishing the standards I wanted. Now with family heritage, it's dollar figures. You see whether you're succeeding or not because it's right there. If you're not producing, you're not getting a paycheck and you're not earning all those incentives. So those things are part of my identity, but they're not the only part of who I am. So I think probably for younger people that might be harder because they're starting out on their own. They haven't established friendships and family and other outside interests. So there might be a danger with them kind of cratering if they're not selling. But know that you have value to people around you. And if that's that you need to go to happy hour with your friends that aren't going to ask you about the sports world and aren't going to ask you about insurance, they're just your friends. They just have fun because you're fun to be around and they're your friends. If you need to do that to feel better about yourself, that's what you do. But don't let the business bring you down. I think it's okay to get part of your identity from what you're doing, but know that there's more to you than just what you're doing.
That's great advice. Yeah. Are there any leadership myths that you wish people would retire?
You know, I addressed it in the individual interview we did in another episode, if I can refer to that. So if you haven't watched, folks, watch that. But there is that myth that to be successful, you have to be really specially talented and have something that no one else has, right? Otherwise, you're not going to be successful. And with the exception of professional athletes or professional artists who have a specific skill that we would never be able to master, I just don't think that's true. I think anybody can be successful as long as they have the discipline and the determination to make the effort, to have the focus, and to work hard. And if you do that, you'll be successful. So I think there are a lot of people that want to look at someone who's successful, maybe look at David and me and say, oh, well, but they have this skill or they have that skill and I could never do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You just got to be willing to put the work in and figure it out, whether it's organizing, whether it's changing. You know, David's at a place now where he's able to change how it works and he doesn't have to go out every day. But that doesn't mean, someone who's young can't get to that place. You can't do that now. No newcomer is going to be able to do what he's doing, I don't think. But that doesn't mean they can't get there.
Yeah.
That's right. Doesn't mean they can't get there. So if we're willing to do the work, you can get there.
So as far as the myth goes, I mean, what is a myth? I mean, it's a belief, it's a thought. So I don't know if there's anything that you'd want to demystify or take away from a myth. I mean, a myth is a belief. So I don't know if there's a leadership myth that I would want to necessarily take away from. I think most leadership myths or leadership principles are there for a reason. I think most of them are sound because they're based out of principle characteristics. So I don't know if I'd want to confront one of those and say, you don't need that in order to do this. I think that everything in leadership, leading from the front, being a self-starter, being self-motivated, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I mean, it's really kind of how you start
and how you finish.
So, it's really kind of challenging for me to speak on what you don't need. I think you need a lot. And I think the probably the biggest component of all of it is just being, disciplined enough, self-started enough, determined enough, mentally tough enough to be able to have somebody tell you no and move on. And I've told people for years in this business that we're in the rejection business. If you're not ready to hear no more than yes, then you're in the wrong business. And I think that's a big part of why a lot of people don't have success with this, because they expect everything to be easy and everybody to say yes and everybody to have the perfect smile and the perfect close and the perfect demo and everybody's just going to live happily ever after. That's just not the way it is. But that's not life either.
Right.
So, understanding that it's selling and life are together. I mean, we're all selling something at the end of the day. So the idea is to take that and understand that and just take your personality and decide who you want to be in this world. Do you want to be the bottom 80? Do you want to be the top 10? Do you want to be number 1? Do you want to work here for 10 years? I mean, that's your decision. Everybody has free will to decide what they want to do with this industry. And the great thing about our industry, it gives you several platforms to do it. If you can't sell, you can recruit. If you can't recruit, you can train. If you can't train, you can be in the home office. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. so there's all kinds of places you can go with this.
That's right. You just have to decide.
Right.
I think that's great advice. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you both for being here today, for sharing your insights. We know that our listeners can take that into any part of their life and level up. So we'll see you on the next episode of the Level Up Lifestyle Podcast.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has inspired you on your path to success. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. See you soon on the Level Up Lifestyle Podcast.